What you say? What did you say? Say something to me? That's what I thought, fool. What's up? JC, Wrong Strong. I just had to, check my bodyguard real quick because he's talking shit. What's up, guys? Wrong Strong, JC here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't hit that like button or left a message, make sure you drop something. Let me know what you think. Today, we're going to talk about something from back home, Chicago, Illinois. They told me not to say the S. Illinois. It's Illinois. Okay, there you go. So what is a Letterman sweater? And how did it become the uniform of a violent street gang? I've tried to explain this to many people about the culture and the way that things are back home in Chicago. Many gangs in Chicago started as a social club, an athletic club, and that being meant it was a club, like a boys and girls club that was in the neighborhood. So in Chicago, all the neighborhoods are pretty much like race. So you have the 26th Street where it's all the Mexicans, and you have Humboldt Park where it's a lot of Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans. It's all split up into races. So back in the day, what they used to do is they would have social clubs where the kids would go hang out. And this is before they actually turned into gangs. There were social clubs, and they were, they would play like softball, baseball, football. That's always been like a tradition over there in Chicago. Like the first day it snows, we actually go out to the street and we play tackle football on the street, in the snow. And it's, since it's so populated, you grow up with like 30 kids on one block. So you have lots of friends to hang out with and lots of friends to, cause trouble with. So that's just a thing that's kind of culture over there. The community is really, really tight. Like, what I mean, the blocks, like everybody knows everybody on the street. They started forming like sports teams, and some, started showing up with like jackets and colors, and it's very, very traditional over there. Every gang has its own character and symbol, and what I mean by that is like, I can tell you, even pink and black is a gang color in Chicago. They're the Imperial Gangsters. Green and black, gold and black, the Land Kings. Black and red, black and gray, black and purple. I mean, it is a culture that was developed way like before. Before even my dad and his time. As these social clubs started turning into street gangs, the sweaters became a way to show off their colors, and it became a code was developed. Gang members were draped their sweaters over their arms when they would be entering enemy territory to indicate that they weren't looking for a fight. The colors of the sweaters indicated different functions. Like there was a sweater with if the body was black and the outside was colored, that was a war sweater. By that I mean, bring it on, let's rumble, let's fight. And then the opposite where the trim was black and the inside was colored, that was a party sweater. I know it's hard to kind of like think about and stuff like that, but this was a culture that was developed in Chicago, and it was like, I always tell people, you ever watch that movie Warriors? That movie came from something, and that's the culture that was in Chicago. And in Chicago, you know, it got to the point where the cops actually started noticing all this, so it made it really easy to kind of like, you know, point out who the gang members were and stuff like that, and started picking them up and all that stuff. So later in the future, when the gangs actually formed two groups, they're called Folks and People, 5-point star, 6-point star. They developed more of a silent code where they still kept their colors, they still kept their symbols and everything, but now it was more like on the down low. They would, like, if you were People, you rode with the 5-point star, you would wear your hat to the left. If you were Folks and you rode with the 6, then you would wear your hat to the right. And little by little, with time, you know, sports apparel, you know, starter jackets, you know, team jackets and stuff like that had colors. So later on, you know, they started developing wearing sports apparel stuff. Like the 2-6 used to like to wear a lot of Raider stuff, 2-6 colors. You know, a lot of the college stuff has, you know, forks, pitchforks going down, pitchforks going up. So they started wearing a lot of this stuff to kind of keep it on the down low. And then as we move more into the 90s, when people were getting tattoos, you really, when you got a gang tattoo, you really kept it like covered. Nobody was blasted the way that everybody's blasted now. Like, you did it somewhere where you couldn't actually see it, because you actually didn't want to get identified as a gang member. Once they got you on paper, just like in prison, once they got you on paper as a gang member, you're fucked. You're done. You're recognized as a gang member. You get sent to the unit with the gangs and everything. You're marked. You're done. So everybody would be on the down low, and that's what I mean. Like, now you guys see me completely like blasted. In Florida they call it wet, but you see me completely blasted now. But that's because of years that I spent in prison, and you really didn't see people like that in Chicago with their. That's why when I was in El Paso and I seen all the dudes like blasted from their face and everything, I was like, holy shit, like, how the fuck do you even find a job like that? So, you know, I had never seen that, because it was a culture shock for me, because it was different back home. And with time, you know, the gang started developing all this stuff. Now it's fucking crazy. Now they're tatting up. I went to Chicago a couple months ago, and I seen these youngsters with their hoods on their foreheads, on their cheeks, on their necks, just everything. I mean, honestly, back in the day when I tattooed the crown on my neck, everybody was looking at me like I was fucking crazy, because they were telling me the same thing. Well, how are you going to, you know, work or find a job looking like that with tattoos on your neck and everything? Because I got 2-5 on the back and the crown. Because I always tell people it's a different culture over there. Like, even all my dudes that I knew that were selling drugs and hustling on the street, they still had a 9-to-5 job. When I was hustling, I paid money to get into the union, the construction union. I paid like 4 G's to get into the construction union, so I could have a really good job and get paid like top dollar in order for me to be able to spend my drug money, or else I wouldn't be able to spend it, because I would be making a shitload of money and I wouldn't be able to spend it because I wouldn't have the credit. Now if I have a job that's backing me up, that I'm making a lot of money, then I'm able to buy a house, build credit. And this is what all my dudes did in Chicago. You know, I look at them now, they all own businesses, they all own houses and all that shit. And it was because it was just a smarter way of doing things. And a lot of this has to do with us picking up stuff that the gangs and the culture in Chicago is very, very influenced by the Italian mob, Al Capone, the South City, you know, gang, and all this stuff that was a tradition, a culture. This is why there's like every gang out there has like bylaws. Every symbol means something. What drugs can't be used, what drugs can be used. Everything is very, very structured. The gangs are not just a bunch of kids running around shooting each other. Now there is. Now it's crazy. Now what happened is that a lot of these dudes that were older dudes that were actually leaders are in prison for life, and now there's like chaos on the street because you got all these youngsters running around buck wild. And yeah, it's turned into a wild wild west over there. It's pretty bad. So like I said, I don't glamorize nothing that I did, nothing that I say. This is all information. This is all a learning tool. I'm just giving you what I know, how I grew up, how I lived my life, and that is it. No, in no way am I saying I had a badass life, this was cool. No, I made a lot of bad choices. I ended up in prison for 17 years of my life, and I regret lots of things that I did in my past. I share this so hopefully the right person can see this and not make the choices that I made, and hopefully I get to help somebody turn the other way around. My name is JC. I am Wrong to Strong. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, hit the bell button, let me know what you think, and don't judge nobody. Give somebody a hug and stay in your lane. That's what's up. Okay, thought he said something. Alright, let's get out of here.